What if a humble quarter you've been spending on parking meters quietly holds the secret to a small windfall? Picture the 1988 Washington quarter, a coin so familiar that it almost blends into the clutch of pocket change. Yet a handful of specimens out there command serious collector attention. By the time we've unpacked its origins, pinpointed the quirks that make certain examples rarer than others, and taken a peek at the eye-popping auction results, you'll be checking every roll of quarters with a grin. Let's get into the story of the 1988 quarter and discover why this unassuming 25-cent piece deserves a second look. When looking back at the roots of the Washington quarter design, you're stepping into a tradition that dates to 1932, when the United States celebrated George Washington's bicentennial. Sculptor John Flanagan's portrait of Washington on the obverse was so well received that it became the standard for circulating quarters for decades. By 1988, the design had matured. No longer fresh off the sculptor's bench, the profile of our first president was familiar to every hand from sea to shining sea. That same year, the Denver and Philadelphia mints struck hundreds of millions of these copper-nickel-clad coins, meaning you could literally find them in any cash register. But hidden among those millions are a few survivors that boast intriguing storylines, thanks to the quirks of metalworking and the demands of mass production. What makes certain 1988 quarters whisper "collect me"? First off, mint marks are your go-to clue. Philadelphia pieces lack a mint mark, while Denver issues carry a tiny D beneath the wreath on the reverse. Beyond that, errors crop up when dies become fatigued or operators misalign components. A notable variety collector's hunt is the FS 101C double die obverse, where part of Washington's profile and the letters of Liberty appear subtly doubled. Other sought-after oddities include die cracks that snake across the face of George Washington or incomplete collar strikes that leave the rims faint or missing. Each of these anomalies tells a momentary lapse in the rigorous minting process, a pause just long enough to create a collectible rarity. If you're wondering what these quirks translate to in greenbacks, the difference is striking. Regular circulated 1988 quarters trade at face value or just above, but a well-preserved, uncirculated Philadelphia specimen graded MS-65 might fetch between $5 and $10. Roll back the condition to MS-67, and you're looking at values in the range of $50 to $75 on a good day. Push that to MS-68, and a top-tier example could cross the $100 mark. As for the FS 101C double die obverse, certified examples in MS-65 range from around $100 upward, with iClean MS-67 coins often trading in the high hundreds. A single auction in late 2024 saw an MS-68 plus DDO piece hammer for just over $400, proof that diligent collectors will pay a premium for these minting mishaps. But the market numbers only tell part of the tale. One of the most intriguing stories involves a small-town diner owner in Kansas who discovered, in the shuffle of his cash tray, a quarter with an unusually crisp profile and what looked like a faint second outline on Washington's head. Assuming it was just a slick cleaning job, he set it aside, only to realize months later, after seeing online chatter, that it matched the FS 101C description. He sent it off for grading, and what arrived back was an MS-67 specimen of the double die variety, which he sold at auction for a neat five-figure sum. That kind of happy accident fuels the excitement around searching pocket change, even on a quiet afternoon. Of course, condition is king. A coin that's been jostled around in pocket lint for decades rarely excites serious bidders, no matter the variety. Circulated examples often show scratches, slight graying from handling, and worn rims that erode details on the eagle's feathers. In contrast, mint state quarters, those that never spent time in circulation, preserve full luster and razor-sharp devices. You'll see brilliant, mirror-like fields on proof-like specimens, while standard business strikes retain a satiny sheen. As grades ascend, small marks become big deal breakers. A stray contact point or two in MS-66 might be acceptable, but any noticeable hairline scratch can drop a coin's value by half or more. That's why dedicated collectors pore over magnifiers and insist on third-party certification before bidding. In this arena, a single fingerprint can cost you dozens of dollars. Beyond grading nuances, regional production quirks add another layer of intrigue. It's well documented that the Philadelphia Mint processed its 1,988 quarters using punches that occasionally left a faint dye clash, a subtle ghost image of the eagle appearing on Washington's cheek. These ghostly impressions are so mild that you need proper lighting and a steady hand to spot them. But once you recognize the pattern, you'll start seeing it pop up in unexpected places. By comparison, Denver's minting equipment produced a handful of quarters with what collectors call broad strikes, where the collar failed to restrain the blank properly, causing the metal to flow outward and create a slightly larger, thinner coin. It's those tiny quirks, imperfections in a precisely controlled environment, that fuel the chase. Even color tone can tip you off to a valuable survivor. While most 1988 quarters age into a dull gray, some retain original mint luster or develop an attractive golden patina known as cherry toning. This occurs when the copper core reacts with environmental factors, leaving a thin rainbow sheen on the surface. Collectors prize this natural toning because it transforms a mundane pocket coin into a vibrant showpiece. A cherry-toned MS-66 specimen might command a 20 to 30% premium over its non-tone counterpart, and dramatic blue and gold rainbow patterns can push that even higher. But tread carefully. Artificial toning exists, and slab labels won't lie, so always verify authenticity with an expert. When you line up all these factors, mint mark, dye variety, condition, toning, and forge in the fire stories, you realize that hunting a valuable 1988 quarter is as much about detective work as it is about numismatics. You're deciphering tiny signals left by massive machines, connecting dots between mint records and real-world finds. The next time you dump a jar of loose change onto your workbench, take an extra moment to sift through those quarters. One of them might just carry an unexpected twist in its metallic DNA, waiting for you to notice the hint of doubling or the shimmer of untouched luster that turns a bland day into a collector's victory. With that, keep your eyes peeled and your loupe at the ready, because the 1988 quarter is proof that treasures can hide in plain sight, right in your pocket. Up next, we'll journey into the world of the 1966 quarter, where a different set of surprises awaits those who know exactly what to look for. Sliding from the late 1980s into the mid-1960s, the 1966 Washington quarter greets us as a landmark in coinage history, a piece that bridges the silver era and the clad future, and in doing so, offers its own set of thrilling quirks. While most circulating quarters before 1965 gleamed with 90% silver, by 1966 the United States Mint had embraced a copper-nickel clad composition. That shift alone turns every 1966 quarter into a tangible crossroads of change, where collectors can trace the moment America bid farewell to silver in everyday pocket coins. As we peel back the layers on this transitional issue, you'll see how simple dates can cloak a treasure trove of surprises. In 1966, the Washington quarter retained John Flanagan's classic obverse profile, but the metal recipe altered fundamentally. The Mint's decision 2 years earlier to eliminate silver from dimes and quarters was driven by rising silver prices and the need to preserve the bullion reserves. By 66, clad planchets, sandwiches of pure copper cores between outer layers of copper-nickel alloy, rolled through presses in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Yet amidst the streamlined production, there were opportunities for slip-ups, misaligned planchets, die dueling, and the occasional stray grease spot on a die collar, all of which laid the groundwork for errors that command collectors' attention today. Exploring the identifying features that elevate certain 1966 quarters calls for a keen eye. At first glance, mint marks are absent from Philadelphia pieces, while Denver strikes bear a small D on the obverse rim at Washington's neckline. San Francisco quarters of 1966 exist uniquely as proof-only issues, struck with polished dies and planchets for inclusion in proof sets rather than general circulation. Beyond mint marks, unexpected varieties lurk in the form of repunched mint marks, RPMs, where the D was punched more than once, often slightly off-kilter. Doubling on the obverse legend or subtle die cracks that spiderweb across Washington's cheek can transform a mundane pocket find into a premium collectible. Market values for 1966 quarters reflect the allure of mint state survivors and curious varieties. Ordinary circulated examples trade at face value or just a few dollars for lightly worn specimens, but uncirculated coins graded MS-63 can range from $5 to $10 apiece. As grades climb into the mid-60s, MS-65 examples may command $15 to $20, and MS-67 coins, scarce in this series, can reach $100 or more. When it comes to repunched mint marks, an MS-65 1966 D RPM 013 might fetch between $50 and $75 at auction, while a pristine MS-67 counterpart could surge past $200. Proof issues aren't left out. A 1966 S-proof quarter in proof condition PR-67 might bring $30 to $40, with PR-69 examples hitting $200 or $300. Beyond the raw numbers, one story stands out. A Florida coin dealer acquired a 1966 D quarter at a local estate sale for a mere $1, only to notice puzzled doubling behind the D. Suspecting a repunched mint mark, he submitted it for grading. The result was an MS-66 RPM 013, which later sold for over $300 at a major auction. Word of that windfall rippled through collector circles, prompting hobbyists to re-examine dusty coin jars and thrift store finds. That single episode underscores the serendipity that fuels the hobby. The idea that a humble quarter shelved for decades could one day be reclassified as a high-value variety. Condition nuances play an outsized role in the 1966 quarter's value landscape. Circulated examples often bear telltale bag marks, surface abrasions, or patches of oxidation where the copper core peeks through worn spots. By comparison, mint state quarters reveal frosty luster on the devices, with fields that shimmer softly under a loupe. In the MS-65 to MS-67 range, collectors scrutinize every hairline scratch, die flow mark, or strike weakness. A solitary contact mark near Washington's jawline can have a grade, while a flawless strike with full collar detail and no planchet flaws can elevate a coin into the rarefied high end of the market. Die state also weaves a narrative of mint floor pressure and wear. Early in the 1966 production run, fresh dies delivered sharply defined hair strands on Washington's head and crisp lettering on the reverse. Later states showed die fatigue, flattened strands, softer rims, and occasional die cracks that intersect the eagle's wings. Some advanced collectors actively chase these late-state quarters, valuing the spiderweb cracks as evidence of a die's twilight performance. In this way, the 1966 quarter serves as both a commodity and a documentary artifact, capturing the mechanical stresses of mid-20th century mass production. Surface toning brings additional character to the 1966 quarter. While most clad coins turn a uniform gray over time, certain environments encourage the emergence of attractive patinas, soft blues near the fields, golden patches around the rims, or even iridescent rainbows over the eagle. Natural toning that evolved slowly in dark storage or within protective packaging can add a 10 to 20% premium when it's aesthetically appealing and evenly distributed. Collectors remain cautious of artificially induced hues, which often reveal telltale signs under ultraviolet light. As with grading, provenance and certification become paramount when toning substantially impacts value. Errors peculiar to 1966 are few but fascinating. A small number of business strikes escaped with clipped planchets, leaving straight or curved blank edges instead of full rims. Others display weak strikes on one side, caused by grease-locked collar seams that prevented proper metal flow. Those coins with dramatic weak strikes, often with Washington's hair strands barely visible, are curiosities that ride the fringe of demand. They seldom outstrip standard errors in value, but for niche collectors who specialize in minting mishaps, a 1966 quarter with a pronounced clipped planchet can be a prized oddball. Regional minting differences continue to pique interest. Collectors note that Philadelphia's presses produced subtly more satiny finish fields, while Denver's outputs often retained a slightly granular texture. Those textural contrasts help authenticate high-grade candidates and distinguish original mint luster from subsequent polishing. San Francisco proofs, meanwhile, show mirror-like fields that contrast sharply with frosted devices, traits that pop against a black velvet display. Because proofs were never intended for circulation, They remain relatively scarce outside of sealed-proof sets, adding a layer of challenge for anyone hunting a standalone 1966 S quarter. For those weighing condition-based values, third-party grading holds sway. An MS-66 1966 DRPM 013 might be worth twice as much as an MS-65, and each incremental grade bump can translate to tens or hundreds of dollars. A single bag mark on the obverse face can shave a grade, while flawless full luster surfaces can boost collectible appeal. Certified proof quarters at PR68 or above can eclipse several $100s, given their rarity outside of mint sets. Ultimately, selecting coins with verified authenticity and documented strike quality offers the most reliable path to value preservation and potential appreciation. In dissecting the 1966 quarter, what emerges is a coin minted at a crossroads. One foot still in the silver-laden past, the other stepping toward a clad future. Whether you're hunting repunched mint marks, inspecting die crack patterns, or chasing the perfect frost-on-mirror proof, each quarter tells a story of technological evolution. As with the 1988 variety, value is as much about eye appeal and narrative as it is about metallic composition. Keep that loop handy, and let every scratch, every tone, and every mint mark guide you deeper into the heart of mid-century American coinage.